The year is 2026, and the game of golf has never been more tense. It's not just about birdies and bogeys anymore. It is about chaos. From club throwing tantrums at the U.S. Open to heated rules debates at the Open Championship, the gentleman's game is in turmoil. World number one Scottie Scheffler, the man known for his unshakable composure, has been caught on camera slamming clubs and screaming in frustration. But in the midst of this storm, a tournament was dying. The Rocket Classic in Detroit, a once promising event that gave us the iconic comeback of Rickie Fowler, reduced to playing in the shadow of controversy. As the final edition teed off, the golf world was watching, not just for the winner, but for the explosion. The stage was set for a wake. The Rocket Classic, formerly known as the Rocket Mortgage Classic, was playing its final round in Detroit after an 8-year run on the PGA Tour. As reported by the Detroit Free Press, the tournament was ending because title sponsor Rocket decided not to renew its contract, marking the first casualty of the PGA Tour's new schedule changes. This was supposed to be a celebration of the Motor City. Instead, it felt like a funeral. The tournament that once saved Rickie Fowler's career, which gave him his 6th PGA Tour win in a dramatic 2023 playoff, was fading into history. The purse was a modest $10 million, a far cry from the signature events, and the field reflected that. The big stars were elsewhere, but the absence of the elite was only half the story. The golf world was still reeling from a season of unprecedented outbursts. Just weeks earlier, tempers had boiled over at the majors. Scottie Scheffler had been at the center of a firestorm at the Open Championship, receiving a controversial free drop on the 17th hole at Royal Birkdale that left fans and pros alike screaming for a rule change. The image of Scheffler, the usually stoic world number one, frantically waving off his security guard to stop the search for his ball, left a bitter taste in the mouths of purists. He took the drop, he made birdie, and the integrity of the game was questioned. Then, at the 3M Open, Scottie Scheffler suffered a stunning defeat. He was beaten by 3 strokes by 21-year-old rookie Jackson Koivin, who shot a tournament record 25 under par. The world number one was runner-up for the 5th time in the season, and the pressure was visibly mounting. This wasn't just a bad year. It was a changing of the guard. The veterans were struggling, the young guns were hungry, and the nerves were frayed. As the Rocket Classic prepared to tee off, a strange tension hung in the air. It was a final goodbye for Detroit, but the real story was about a sport on edge, waiting for the next fuse to be lit. The players on the tee were fighting for their livelihoods, for a spot in the playoffs, and to keep their composure under the microscope. To understand the chaos at the final Rocket Classic, you have to understand the pressure. The PGA Tour in 2026 was a pressure cooker, and no one felt the heat more than the players who were fighting to keep their careers alive. The world number one, Scottie Scheffler, was a perfect example of this tension. Just weeks before the Rocket Classic teed off, Scheffler had experienced something he had not felt in nearly 4 years. He missed the cut at the Genesis Scottish Open, snapping a streak of 78 consecutive tournaments making the weekend. It was the 5th longest cut streak in PGA Tour history, and it ended on a links course where he just could not find his rhythm. The world watched as he walked off the tee box after a poor shot and muttered to himself in frustration, a sight rarely seen from the typically unflappable champion. For Scheffler, the missed cut was a gut punch. He was known for his relentless consistency, and when asked about it, he admitted that while missing the cut is the hardest thing, finishing second hurts even more. That season, he had 4 runner-up finishes, including a painful playoff loss at the Travelers Championship. He confessed that coming close and losing stung worse than an early exit. This admission from the world's best player revealed a sport on edge. The margins in golf are razor thin, and even the greatest were feeling the weight of expectation. As Scheffler put it, "I've had a very solid year, but frustrating at times because I've been close and I haven't been able to get it done." But the tension wasn't just about the elite. The Rocket Classic was the final stop for many players trying to secure their playoff spots. The tournament was the last chance for those on the bubble to earn enough FedEx Cup points to advance. Michael Thorbjornsen arrived in Detroit ranked 69th in the standings, desperately needing a strong performance just to keep his season alive. For players like him, the stakes were existential. A win meant job security. A bad week meant going home. The field reflected this desperation, featuring hungry rookies and veterans alike. all fighting for their futures while the tournament itself was fighting for survival. The final round of the final Rocket Classic was set up for a coronation, but it quickly descended into chaos. Davis Riley, the overnight leader, was supposed to be the one holding the trophy when the week ended. He had come to Detroit ranked outside the top 125 in the FedEx Cup standings, desperate for a win to save his card. Starting the day with a 3-shot lead, it was his tournament to lose. And as it turns out, lose it he did. Riley's start was a disaster. He bogeyed the second hole, then the fourth, then the sixth, falling out of contention almost as quickly as the round began. He later admitted, "The start got the best of me and kind of put me behind the 8-ball early. The door was wide open." Xander Schauffele, the two-time major winner still searching for his first victory of the season, was the first to kick it down. Schauffele surged, briefly taking the lead with a sizzling round that would eventually become a 65. He was playing the role of the seasoned veteran, the man who had been here before, putting the pressure on the young guns in the final groups. But it wasn't a two-man race. Halfway through the final round, chaos reigned on the leaderboard. At one point, at least 7 different golfers had held a share of the lead. Ricky Fowler was making a charge, fighting through an illness to chase his first win in 3 years. Rasmus Højgaard was climbing the board. The sheer unpredictability of the moment was electrifying the crowd in Detroit. The drama was almost overwhelming, and then came a moment of pure pandemonium. While the leaders were battling, a bizarre subplot involving Si Woo Kim was unfolding just off the course. Kim, who had been surging into contention with a brilliant third-round 65, had experienced a nightmare journey to Detroit. He accidentally crossed the Canadian border on his way to dinner because he confused a restaurant in Detroit with one of the same name in Windsor. He didn't have his passport. He drove to the border gate by accident, and the officer told him he had to go across to Canada anyway, a one-way route. He was forced to wait in line for 45 minutes before being surrounded by 8 Border Patrol officers who searched his car for drugs and weapons. He eventually was let through, but the stress of the ordeal was a subplot that added to the sheer madness of the tournament. The Rocket Classic was a tournament known for curses and bizarre circumstances, and this final edition was not going to disappoint. And then, the chaos turned into a coronation. While the final Rocket Classic was supposed to be a quiet farewell, it became the stage for a young man's arrival. Michael Thorbjornsen had told us this would happen. Back in February at the Phoenix Open, after a near miss, he said, "You put yourself in those positions more and more, you get more comfortable. It'll happen at some point." A month later, tied for second at the Players' Championship, he repeated himself, "If you keep putting yourself in that position, it's going to happen at some point." In Detroit, his prophecy came true. As the leaders stumbled, Thorbjornsen stayed steady. He started the final round 3 shots back of Davis Riley, but while Riley crumbled with 3 early bogeys, Thorbjornsen was making birdies. He birdied the first hole, then the fourth, quietly climbing the leaderboard while the chaos swirled around him. Then came the back 9, and it was pure brilliance. On the 10th hole, he stuck his approach to 6 feet and made birdie. On the 12th, he pitched in from right of the green for another. On the 14th, he pitched his third shot to 2 feet and tapped in for birdie, taking the lead for the first time. The crowd in Detroit, which had come to say goodbye, suddenly found themselves cheering for a new hero. On the 15th hole, Thorbjornsen dropped his tee shot to 6 feet and made another birdie. He wasn't just winning. He was making a statement. The 24-year-old from Massachusetts, who had been a decorated amateur and a Stanford product, was finally showing the world what he could do under the brightest lights. His final back 9 was a 5 under 30, flawless, aggressive, and fearless. When he walked to the 18th green with the tournament in his hands, he faced a 25-foot putt, and he rolled it straight into the heart of the cup, pumping his fist as the gallery erupted. He had shot a 7 under 63, the low round of the day, and he had won his first PGA Tour title by 2 shots. The victory was more than just a trophy. For Michael Thorbjornsen, it was the ultimate reward for a journey built on patience, doubt, and relentless work. As he stood there with the trophy, the truth came out. He admitted, "I'd be lying if I said no," when asked if the win brought relief. He confessed, "It kind of got to the point a little bit of, is it ever going to happen?" That honesty, that raw admission of doubt, made the moment resonate. It was a reminder that the polished highlight reels never show the quiet drives to the course, The night spent questioning if being close would ever be enough. But Thorbjornsen didn't just win. He validated an entire system. He was the first player in the PGA Tour University ranking to earn an immediate tour card in 2024, and he proved the system worked. His win came just 1 week after Jackson Koiven, the rookie prodigy, won at the 3-meter Open. It marked the first time since July 2017 that 2 players aged 24 or under won PGA Tour events in consecutive weeks. The last time that happened, it was Xander Schauffele at the Greenbrier Classic and Bryson DeChambeau at the John Deere Classic. 2 players who would go on to combine for 4 major championships and 29 victories. The irony was perfect. Schauffele was the runner-up in Detroit, watching the torch pass to a new generation, and the rewards were immediate. The $1.8 million winner's check was a life-changing sum. The 500 FedEx Cup points vaulted him from 69th to 38th in the standings, securing his spot in the playoffs. He also earned a place in the Masters next spring. In a sport where job security is a fleeting luxury, Thorbjornsen had just guaranteed himself a seat at the biggest tables. His 65th career start had finally produced a breakthrough.